I was thinking about in the early days of this administration, my colleagues and I at Height, and we advise investors every day. They were calling us every day asking about tweets, asking about comments from the president. At this point, the president says something, and a lot of investors don't want to pay attention. I think we're seeing in the market today kind of an ability to ignore the president or news around the president. And so the real question is what would be the tipping point? What would need to change to make folks that have kind of become immune start paying attention again?
Brian, what about you? The mantra today from most of our guests has been focus on the fundamentals, the economics, the corporate earnings growth, and they look pretty good. Tune out the politics. Is that what you're telling your clients?
I mean, just for the sake of being contrarian, I'd like to take the other side of that, but I can't. I mean, I have to agree with it. Checking in with our trading desk at KBW, that's the answer that I think we're getting from a lot of our clients. It's not that they're immune to it; they're ignoring it, and I think there's a subtle but important difference there. Institutional investors will not pay attention to this until they get a sense that the president is in realistic political jeopardy, and that only happens when an issue of collusion with a foreign power comes into play. And so far, there have been allegations, accusations, conspiracy theories, but no hard evidence of collusion. If there was to be public evidence that somehow he cooperated with a foreign power, then I think you see members of his own party start to turn on him. In the absence of that, he's fine. I mean, his political standing is fine for now.
Since you watch all these developments very carefully, Brian, the president has responded. He's tweeted about it twice, two different tweets, obviously two different sentiments on Manafort and Cohen. We just heard from Sarah Huckabee Sanders in her press briefing. How does the administration's response and posture take us forward? What's it ultimately going to mean for the president and for the markets, the way they've approached this?
Well, again, I think you have to keep in mind his audience. His audience is his set of political supporters, and I think this is a calculated strategy by the president. Part of it is impulsive reaction to the news flow, which he thinks is unfair to him. But also, I think there is a calculated move that as we get closer to the midterm elections, he is seeking to gin up his base and increase turnout. He knows that he cannot appeal to non-supporters, and he's given up trying. He's not going to try. And so I think a lot of the tweeting, a lot of the press interviews that he gives and the rallies that we saw last night in Charleston have a targeted audience, which is get Republican voters out. And I think the markets are just shrugging, investors are just shrugging their shoulders. They understand who he is talking to. He's not talking to them, and they just don't care.